Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is the Daily Medicine Transmission for March 19th, 2021. We are on the eve of the spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere, the autumn equinox in the Southern Hemisphere. We are on the cusp of a major transition into the astrological new year, or in the case of the Southern Hemisphere, the time of consummation and harvest. Oh boy. So I hope everybody's doing well. We're going to exit here into full screen mode. And it's Friday as well. So we're at the end of the calendar week, whatever that means at this point. And tomorrow, 5:30 a.m., let me make sure about that. Yes, 5:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the sun will move into Aries and we will begin this new season, this new year astrologically. And I really do hope that all of us have been coming towards, I hope all of us are really considering what our Dharma is and being very real with ourselves in terms of being interdependent, all the parts of ourselves being interdependent, being real with ourselves, what our limitations are, what our strengths and our assets are, and how we're going to use all of those facets to move forward into this next year. Because what we bring with us into this new cycle is what will grow into form. So, of course, epigenetics always plays a role when we're talking about genetics and the inheritance of certain traits in ancestry. And just like moving from the 12th house to the first house, from Pisces to Aries, we also are bringing with us everything that has come along from the previous cycle, and what we have not dealt with, what we have not come to terms with, whatever we have not settled and balanced out will come with us into the next cycle and will grow as a result of its interaction with the environment. And that's really what the basis of epigenetics is, in a very simple way, which is it's not always nature versus nurture. There's an interlocking, interdependent relationship there. So what we bring with us from this previous year, and how we have settled it within ourselves, within our minds, our hearts, and our spirit, is going to come with us into this next cycle and be manifested into a new creation. So it's very important that we are aware of ourselves and what energy we are bringing into this cycle and what we are activating at this eclipse. So really excited to be part of the Redream the World in the Age of Aquarius Astro Retreat. This is a free event. It is online. It is chocked full of presenters all weekend, starting today at noon. If you are interested in registering, like I said, it's a free event. You can go to Facebook or Telegram. You can find that information in the description box below. I will even leave a link directly to the registration if you're interested. And there is so much information there. I'm really excited. I'll be presenting on Sunday about the role of the starseed in the Age of Aquarius. And I am offering a 15-minute free starseed reading to everybody who registers and follows up. So that's also an option. So let's talk about some things. I really wasn't even sure what was going to come out today. We are at this precipice moment. We are at the last degree of Pisces with the sun. We still have Venus catching up, right? She's at 27 to 28 degrees Pisces. Mercury now in Pisces. There's just so much imagination and visual aspects and artistic potential, especially with Venus and Pisces. It's just so beautiful and inspiring. And the muse is really here to help bring and inspire us to bring ourselves into this next cycle with full awareness. Of course, the Hanged Man came out, and we'll talk about that because I was wondering when it was going to come out. There was just too much Pisces for it not to, and of course it did. And so even at the precipice here today, as we prepare to activate this next cycle, it's worth it to give ourselves the opportunity to just hang, right? To just hang, to just give it all up, to surrender to the flow of natural law, of divine source, of God, however you characterize that aspect that is responsible for everything that we know in this universe, whatever that is. We do want to give ourselves an opportunity to just hang loose a little bit. So we'll go over the intuitive messages, of course. I want to talk a little bit about the astrology today, so let's look at that as well. We'll look at the chart for today, just so that we can see what we are working with today when we have our moon. Here, let's go to current right now. We have our moon in Gemini now, so you may have noticed that the aspects of our mind and communication have really started to amp up, especially when it comes to our own intuition, our personal experience, being able to consider all of the options. Gemini is very mutable. Pisces is very mutable. As you can see, there's a square with Mercury in Pisces with the moon today. There's actually a square as well with Pallas Athena in Pisces to a Gemini moon. We have some positive, harmonious connections with Chiron in Aries. We're going to have a trine to Saturn in Aquarius. And eventually the moon is going to meet Mars, and then it's going to meet the North Node by the end of today. So as the moon is going through Gemini, we are working with this energy of the dialectic when it comes to ideas and thoughts and communication and our immediate environment. You know, Gemini is the movement of information and is the third house. So it's about being able to conceptualize the world around us through our thoughts. And that is what manifests the reality that we find ourselves in, is the thought processes, the attention, where we settle our attention, and the direction that we project our minds and our information and our manifestation powers, right? When we project our focus into a certain direction and we allow that part of us, our mind, our learning, our language, the data that's coming in and out, wherever that is focused, that is certainly going to start building the fractal geometry, of infusing that geometry into something substantial, which ends up coming about ultimately in the Capricorn archetype and the 10th house, which, you know, Pluto, of course, has been just coming through and destroying every step of the way as well. So let's talk about this, shall we? Let's talk about this Gemini energy. And let's talk about, we'll talk about that after, when we get to the intuitive messages. I just want to show you here what we're going to be going through with this moon in Gemini squaring Mercury. Now, Gemini requires a balance, right? We're talking about the Hegelian dialectic, which is problem, action, solution. But even more simply than that, that is certainly how it's been presented to us. But even more simply is thesis, antithesis, synthesis, right? That is really what we are working with Gemini, because for every thesis, for every idea, there is their anti-idea, a counter idea, an antithesis. And when we consider both of these positions, because Gemini is mutable and moves very freely from one idea to another, recognizing that it is in fact the opposite side of the same coin, or the twins. One is in the past, one is in the future. When we realize this, we are able to move in a malleable way amongst these ideas, and we can consider the thesis, and then we consider the antithesis, and everything in between. And eventually, when we get to the Sagittarius energy, which is the South Node, by the way, where we are heading away from, right? This is what creates our collective belief system, and our religion and our philosophy is this synthesis. But we have to start down here with Gemini, which is engaging with the range of ideas from one pole to the other. And when something gets out of balance, or there's too much in one position, the this is where problem, reaction, solution comes into play when we talk about the Hegelian dialectic, because when one side gets too big, one side gets too full, if one side is in a certain position that's out of balance, the other side, just by virtue of natural law, will have to find its counterbalance. And so when the Hegelian dialectic is manipulated and used as a way to control the masses, as it has been since it's really been, oh boy, I had a professor that would say that Marx had turned Hegel on its head, right? Hegel was just a philosopher, problem, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, right? This is just a philosophical, logical way of coming to conclusions about things, right? And utilizing the mind and logic. What Marx did was basically take that idea and apply it to the social and economic sphere, and then it was essentially just utilized in the Bolshevik Revolution as a way to control the masses by not only providing the problem, but also the solution, the reaction and the solution. So anyway, that's a little bit about how we can understand the Gemini archetype, right, where we are finding ourselves with Mars especially, and the North Node. This is where we are being pulled in order to evolve collectively. Mars is the warrior and the action hero. So there is action and enterprise and penetration and movement forward that Mars is also in Gemini right now. And so the moon coming and meeting these points today is really going to stimulate a lot of ideas, communication. It's going to stimulate our ability to move fluidly, especially with the moon, move fluidly from one pole to the other and consider everything in between. And Mars is giving us the courage and the ability to kind of take a nosedive and really challenge a lot of what we've already been told is the truth or reality, and challenge ourselves to the point where there's only success and failure at this point. And Mars is the perfect candidate to really take us into that realm with the courage that we need to essentially take a nosedive from, like as the Sabian symbol is an airplane taking a nosedive. So we are being given the courage. And of course, the North Node is like the head of the dragon, right? So pulling us in this direction that's really about bridging the gap and communicating in a way that telepathically. And what does that mean? That means you're kind of cutting out all the middlemen and able to get right to the point of the thesis and antithesis at the same time. When you're able to do that, then you are also able to consider all of the options in between, and you cut out all of the middle that is trying to control that communication. This is where we are headed. This is what's pulling us towards our soul, a collective soul's evolution, is to cut that middle point out and get right into connecting with each other. And with telepathy and more intuitive communication, there are no secrets, right? You can't have secrets there, because you are not just taking people at their word necessarily. You can hear their thoughts. You can read their energy. You can intuit what they're really all about. And that is how we discern. And so we're kind of getting pumped up in a little bit. And the moon is making it a much more emotional and very intuitive experience today and into tomorrow. So I would say, embody and bring in that and call in that courage from Mars to kind of take a nosedive, to take a risk, right? To take a risk to go against what has been told to us as the truth or reality by somebody else. Take a risk and be able to commit to it. And this really speaks to the title of this transmission, which is with the power of conviction. There is no sacrifice. When you know what you're doing and why, then everything that happens and everything that you give up, everything that you surrender, quote unquote, right? Surrender is not really a sacrifice at all. You know exactly what you're doing. You've committed to the process, even if you're committing to something that could, potentially lead to destruction, right? A nosedive. You are working, you are taking a big risk when you do something like that, but it's also a necessary risk. So that's the Gemini aspect today with thoughts, communication, information going in and out. We are really feeling an urge and a desire with the moon, right? Internally and emotionally based with our feeling to really take this risk and maybe challenge what we have been told. And when the moon meets the North Node by the end of the day, we can really connect intuitively to this space. The moon is really where we can actually practice that telepathic psychic link, because the moon is about the intuitive nature, which is not confined by anything else. It allows us to connect to other people, other energies. It is formless. It is the water within us, which is the Pisces energy. And Pisces is about the dissolving into the great expanse of everything. So also, too, when the moon comes into a sextile with Chiron, this is very similar to where Mars was with the quiver of arrows. And so now it's much more of a deeper experience and something that we intuitively are going to hold and feel when it comes to the ability to keep our attention focused. This is so important. I cannot stress this enough, and especially as we come through this lunar cycle to the full moon, being able to keep our attention on the big picture, not being pulled into our victim narrative, not being pulled into our wounding. And today, with the moon in a sextile to Chiron, again, we're going to be able to focus our attention right onto that bullseye, and it'll come again through our feelings and through our intuition with the moon. The moon is also going to trine Saturn today in Aquarius as well. And is at the same time, it's going to trine Saturn. It's going to sextile asteroid Ceres, which is in Aries already. And it's going to square Vesta, asteroid Vesta. Asteroid Vesta is opposite all of this Pisces energy. It is the fire that revitalizes the community. It is, the Hestia or Vesta is the goddess of the hearth flame, and often characterized as a flame. And so even though all this Pisces energy is about our collective karma and all the cycles coming to an end and everything dissolving into everything else, and dreams and boundaries being so fluid, and we don't know where we end and begin, and we're getting all of this information through Mercury in Pisces and inspired and feeling very compassionate and loving with Venus here as well. Vesta is pulling our energy back to our own individual work that we do in order to keep that flame alive, because that hearth flame is what sustains us and sustains the community, sustains our family. So it's important that we are paying attention to that. And the moon, newly open lands, offer the pioneer new opportunities for experience in a trine to Saturn. This goes back to a very structurally foundational support of the silent hour, gaining inspiration through our silence. And Saturn is, there is such a boundary here. There is really no getting around Saturn at all. And so wherever Saturn is, it is like that, paternal, those paternal boundaries that we at the time are just like, I hate you. But really, you come to realize have given you an incredible amount of security and safety, right? Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and actually was the ruler of Aquarius at one point before Uranus was discovered. And so even there's stability in the collective itself as well. But the newly open lands, the opportunity for experience on a mental level, on an informational level with the moon in Gemini, it's only really going to be found, especially because we're talking about the moon and our feelings. It's really going to be found when we can connect to that silent hour, when we can allow ourselves to be inspired by the infusion of source energy, whatever that means to us, through the silence. We can't expect to keep getting information from other people because they aren't really interested. If you don't want to keep filling your brain, right, with other people's concepts and ideas. It's one thing to listen to people who inspire you and to give you tools and guidance on how to come to conclusions on your own. It's a different thing when people are saying, this is what's going to happen, this is why it's happening, and it's not, and you just take it verbatim. You don't even do the work to see if it's verifiable. We can move into a new range of thoughts and a new thought process and a mental perspective so much if we are able to really sink into and let that Saturn support us, be a foundation, be a cornerstone in some ways. So and of course, Saturn is going to sextile Ceres. Ceres is at 11 degrees Aries. This is the ruler of a nation. Ceres is an asteroid. She is the goddess of the grain, of agriculture. She is the representation of the seasonal changes based on, she gives grain, she gives agriculture, she gives nourishment, right? For half of the year. This is very seasonal, of course. And then the other half of the year, everything is dormant as the yin phase allows things to, contract and to gather resources and to rest. That is definitely part of the winter season into the spring. She's already in Aries now, and she is really, the earth herself is really activating this spring, right? And so again, we can really feel what she is offering. We can see what she is offering, which is the ruler of a nation. And you don't have to think of that literally. It's much more about bringing all of this potential energy of creation together into a singular point of, I don't want to say control, but dominance, right? Dominance and aggressiveness are different things. And dominance is a big part of the first decan of Aries. So you move into the second decan of Aries, which is virtue, right? This is something that virtue is not about I'm a good person necessarily. I mean, it is, but it really comes from the fact that you know who you are and what you're very clear on who you are, and then you can apply that to a larger situation. So, but again, it's about the silent hour, receiving new inspiration. There's a lot of new inspiration that's coming in with this equinox, but we're right on the end here, right? We're right on the end because we are about to come into Aries. So, there I am. Let's go into the reading, right? And look at some of the imagery because it's really just, I don't want to say we're in a holding pattern, but kind of, because we're about to come over into this whole new scenario, and what we bring with us is going to set the tone. And we've had some time now this first week to really kind of work with that new moon energy about what is our dharma, who are we, and being the fullest version of who we are, knowing who we are so that when we plant this seed, we have conviction, right? And we're not making sacrifices because we know exactly why we're here and what we're doing. So let's look at this reading. Okay, and I'll do this here, maybe. There we go. I hope everybody is doing well. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And here we are with the reading. So the Princess of Swords reversed. We have Mercury in Cancer, the Three of Cups at the center of the reading. Are we not getting tired, honestly, of just the battle, right? Princess of Swords is the Venus of air. You know, that defeat card has come up so much. Are we getting tired yet of the constant battle of words and ideas? Are we getting tired yet of being on our pedestal and trying to, shield ourselves from the onslaught of ideas that is impossible, especially with Mars in Gemini, the moon in Gemini, the North Node in Gemini, it is just, there's a barrage, right? And eventually we just have to let go of trying to fend it all off. Not to say that we should just accept everything. It's just like, but in this mental realm and communication and media specifically, my God, and everybody's concept of what's happening, it's just a barrage all the time. And so in the heart of it though, right, in the heart of the moment, we are starting to, I think we're letting go of that. And in the heart of the moment, there is this really balanced sense of emotional abundance, right? Mercury in Cancer, we starting to realize what we do have and that we are abundant and we have found our goal, right? It's at the very beginning. Seven of Scrolls, we have the King of Forces reversed, and then of course the outcome is the Hanged Man. So let's go into this all one piece at a time. So the Princess of Swords reversed, we just talked about this. So the Venus in the air sign. So oftentimes, she's young, she's innocent, she's a princess. It's very much rooted in material reality. The princess represents the Venus. Venus does rule Libra. So that's something to consider as well, is that she is comfortable in the realm of knowledge that's applicable, right? Venus and Libra. Libra is about applying our knowledge to material balance. So, but when she's reversed like this, cruel, discriminating, egotistical, aggressive, when the results are not to her liking, I think there's been a lot of that. We are really pushing back too when we are getting bombarded with information that does not fit our narrative or the narrative that we assumed was reality. And this is very malicious and spiteful. That can be like the darkest side of this, when things are not going in the trajectory that we thought they were. If ideas are challenging us, when it's reversed like this, we can get, there's a failure to recognize the facts. And we have to remember that Venus is kind of selfish. She's the goddess of love, but it's really about what satisfies her, because it's about material reality, and there's nothing wrong with that. We are material beings. We live in a material reality. We have survival instincts. Venus rules Taurus, right? It's about what's beautiful and harmonious, but it also is what gratifies our senses, because that's how we survive. There's a failure here to recognize the facts, and some people can be malicious and spiteful because they do not, because that Venus has her, she's very sensitive, she's had her feelings hurt, and she will lash out and be aggressive when these results don't fit. And so many of us have probably gone through this internally. Maybe it's happening externally. It's something to consider, but I think that we are kind of getting tired of this. I know I am on many levels. So at the heart of it, we have the Three of Cups. So Mercury, again, the mind. Mercury is in Pisces, and wants to find the sanctity in everything, and will find the sanctity in everything if we are looking for it, if our minds are willing to look at the reality around us. And there is abundance. There's emotional abundance. There's joy and fulfillment and devotion. What are we devoted to? What gives us joy and fulfillment? And what is the goal? Where are we directing our emotional energy in the heart of this moment? I think we're starting to realize what that is, because we are just kind of over it with the constant bombardment of information and the failure to recognize the facts. Now, some people are accepting that more than others, but even with other people acting out. And when we talk about court cards, king, queen, prince, princess, they're actual people, more so than archetypes. I mean, they are archetypes, but this is more of an archetype of an experience, where those court cards represent people in general. So there is just this dynamic of people that are just like, I don't like what I'm hearing, and I'm going to push back and be malicious and spiteful as a result. And now that we're here in this moment, we're just like, wow, I don't really want to do that. I actually see what I have to be joyful and grateful for, and I see the abundance, and I mentally conceive of the abundance in my life, and I want to focus here. Now, speaking of focusing our conscious attention, here's the Seven of Scrolls, intricacies in industry. We have to attend to the details, right? This cathedral is not going to get built itself, and it's certainly not going to get built in a day, and we can't just sit back and wait for somebody else to build it, right? We have to follow through with our plans. And if you look at this card, this individual has got a little plumb bob right here. So he's making sure that what he has built so far is level, right? Measure twice, cut once. You don't want to have to keep going back and taking it apart to do it over again. That is so infuriating. But it's also how you learn, right? I had to do that digging in here. I don't know anything about irrigation or excavation, but here I am doing it, and I had to undo a lot of my work many times over to finally figure out how to do it. And then I learned, and then it went really quickly. So Sometimes you have to do that, and that's okay. And I think, again, with this Princess of Wands, there's such a pushback of having to be like, well, I screwed that up. Maybe I'll go back and try it again, or try to find a different way to solve this problem. But many of us, I think, are now at this point that we're just like, you know what? I see what I want to be, I see what I want to devote myself, the goal, the emotional goal. I can wrap my head around it right now. And our conscious attention energetically is on the work we have to do, right? One stone at a time. One stone at a time. And it's a scroll. So we're talking about the mind and ideas and your plans. Look at all these plans down here to build something material. But we have to attend to the details. And we do know this. We are aware that it takes time and that it takes attention to detail, and that we have to pay attention and follow through with the specifics. We can't just be like, oh, I want this built, and I'll just wait around for somebody to do it. Or it's not happening fast enough, so I'm just going to abandon this project. Oh. That's happened quite a bit lately, hasn't it? But now we are turning a corner here, and there is a collective awareness that we have to actually put the time and follow through on the details in order to create and build something magnificent. So, but where are we at energetically at the root? The King of Forces is reversed. Again, here's a man, a male energy that has got depleted forces, that is scattering energy, and is losing a position of power, right? The King of Forces is connected into the transformational power of nature, right? And when you look at this card upright, as you can on this reading here, let's look at this real quick. Where did you go? Right? When you look at it here, it's a little bit clearer, but you can see that. Okay. You can see that he's surrounded by animals. He's got this beautiful violet nebula above him. He's not wearing any armor. Doesn't seem to be in a position where he's very trying to do anything. He is just there, and the water is flowing by him. He's got animals that are calm and hanging out together. So this is a person that is very connected to natural energy and is very strong and capable as a result of it, but is not projecting it anywhere necessarily. It just knows that his force comes from nature. So when it's reversed like this person, either this is us, the masculine tendency within us, and or other people around us. Again, there's more court cards in this reading. So there's a lot of people that are representing authority, and this aspect within us as well. Depleted energy, loss of position, disruptive energy, out of balance. It may be charming on the surface, but it's manipulative underneath. And so this is still rooting us energetically. So we are either not realizing that we are carrying this around with us. We are not realizing that the men or the male masculine figures in our lives, that seem charming on the outside are really just manipulating us. So we may be paying attention to, okay, we need to attend to details and follow through and put the work in. But when we're still rooted energetically with this energy, we're still scattered. Our energy is still scattered. This person is depleting our energy. These people depleting our energy, whoever they are. And if we're still rooted here energetically, subconsciously, we're not realizing how much it's influencing everything else, which is why the Hanged Man is a necessary and, it's a necessary outcome as far as I'm concerned, but it also makes a lot of sense that we would have to really invert ourselves, and especially invert ourselves when it comes to that Hanged Man. We sacrifice and surrender to the will of divinity, divine source, to God, right? You see the Ankh is what this person hangs off of. The snake is coiled around. There is that like crucifixion type of energy here, as you can see with the hands and the foot. And there's also this, the 4 right here. So this also represents a very stable shape, right? But the reality is that everything we're turning on our heads, very Uranian, right? And letting it all go and submerging ourselves into the source. And the number 12, here's number 12. This is the Hanged Man. This is Pisces. This is the 12th house. We are the very last degree of Pisces. And so we have to just let it hang, right? And the metamorphosis that comes through isolation, which again is the 12th house. This is a turning point, and a new viewpoint. And as I said, with all this Gemini energy, it's really stimulating our ability to not only turn and invert ourselves, but literally take the nosedive with Mars behind us. It requires some patience. It requires that realization that we are taking a risk. And it's a time of consideration and devotion, acceptance of our fate. And fate is nothing more than a cause and effect relationship. And there is a maturity that comes along with this card as well. We are closing out a cycle, and this very end of the cycle is just accepting that and hanging loose and surrendering. And so when we do this consciously and with conviction, there is no sacrifice. We are making the surrender because we know where it's going to lead, and we trust the process as it's unfolding. And we can't force anything to happen. When we're talking about these very large cycles, right? Of course, the yearly cycle, right? The seasonal yearly cycle, our transition all the way around our sun, right, is one cycle. And then we're talking about the very large cycle of moving from Pisces, the age of Pisces, into the age of Aquarius, which is what this whole retreat this weekend is really about, and how that is a completely new viewpoint and a turning point. So we have to let it go. We have to let it go, and we will probably be forced into letting it go to a certain extent if we do not make it a conscious choice. Now, the devotion with that 3 of Cups, we do feel that there's a goal here. We have a point of reference that we can, right? The two points in the triangle come to the climax or the apex, right? There is the point here. This is the focus. And so when we let go of that, we know that there's a focus, and then letting go of everything else surrounding it and really trusting this process and the cycle of the time wave, right? That's something that is continuing to oscillate and to move, right? That is what a wave does. It is an oscillation. It's a restriction or a contraction and release, right? And so we're just kind of, we're just going to come down here and be so distracted when things pop up. Telegram, I hate that. Anyway, so this is the likely outcome for today is the Hanged Man, just to relax, right? So, and to surrender, not even just to relax, to really surrender, because that's not relaxing necessarily. There's a lot of courage needed to do this inversion consciously. And, a lot of times what happens is that when we don't do it consciously, it's done for us. And that's the 6th house in Virgo, right? And that's where Vesta is, the goddess of the hearth flame, right? That inner spark that sustains all of us and our community. So it's just a couple things to think about. So some guidance for today. Number 1, the dog. Your loyalty and faithfulness are misplaced by serving too many masters, right? What masters we should be serving? God is one right there, and the higher self, which is really just our piece of source within us that we have access to. If you are giving your power away to other people, other concepts, a timeline that actually isn't really shaping up, realizing that you have been misled. And believe me, I'm right here, right? This is part of a journey that we're all on, and we all have been going on it for a long time. Like, there's been many points in my life where I've gone through this process and coming to realize, I've given my power away to something or someone that actually isn't in my best interest, number 1, and has taken me away from my true self. So this is, when it comes to that intricacies and industries that we have a lot of work to do, we can't do that work and focus and follow through if we are giving our undivided attention and our loyalty. Dogs are loyal, right? That's very Cancerian 4th house. Loyal. That is a Syrian starseed trait. Loyal, which is why Syrian starseeds tend to have very small groups of friends and really have a hard time trusting people, because loyalty, once it's given, oh my gosh. And just like a dog, right? They are true empaths, and they will be loyal till the end of time. But you have to be very aware and conscious and intentional about where your faithfulness and your loyalty is going. And when you can do that, then we can really focus on what it is we're building. And along with that, of course, is the 7 of keys, the ascent. There's only one person at the top of this mountain, right? Nobody's going to do it for us. Nobody's going to carry us up there. It's us and the top of the mountain and our determination and our hard work, right? And the same thing with the 7 of scrolls, right? It's hard work, it's determination, it's focus, it's follow through, attention to detail. Both of these elements right here, we are aware of this. It's at the top of our awareness. It provides institutional power for all of us if we can engage in this collectively. But be mindful about who you're giving your power away to, because if you do, you dissipate just like that King of Forces. We're still rooted there energetically. And so giving our power away, it's being depleted. It's being scattered all over. If we do that, we can't get here. And we know we have to get here. We're aware that we have to get here. So when it comes to that King of Forces, the King of Scrolls, more kings. This is about deepening our understanding, deepening our wisdom, taking the time to really consider what we're reading, what we're consuming in terms of content. Now, this person is protected. They're in this beautiful garden with a big wall around, like a gate, an iron gate and a wall around it. So you can see the expanse of everything, but there's a certain boundary here, right? There's a boundary. Nobody's coming in there unless this person says, yeah, you can come in. So that's something to consider as well when it comes to what have we let in? Who is scattering our energy that we think is a king, even if it's within us, right? This is about being thoughtful. Like really thoughtful, deepening our understanding, deepening our wisdom, thinking very deeply about what it is that we're reading and that we're consuming and considering in a mental level, right? And a beautiful landscape to be inspired by. And you can tell that, he's got one scroll that's open, a couple other, and he's holding this one and it's tucked under his arm. He's really thinking about it. I think we really need to think about it, okay? And along with that, the grouse, this has come up a couple times already. This is about expressing yourself through rhythm and movement, right? This is how the shamans, the indigenous shamans, were able to get into their trance states, right? This is how we actually impact the energetic resonance within and around us, is by participating in these types of movements and practices of rhythm. So dancing, yoga, tai chi, qigong, just dancing, right? Drumming is a great one, chanting, but this is about getting your body involved. When you get your body involved, then you can, your gut check is way better, right? Hi kitty, come on. When you get your body involved, then that is your antenna for bullshit, okay? That is why your gut check is so important, and why the more in tune with you are to your body, as opposed to just your ego chatter monkey mind, thinking that that's reality. When you are in tune with your body, if you know what things feel like energetically in your body, and you learn that by practicing these things and releasing things as well, dancing and drumming and singing and yoga and all of these movement arts release things out of your body. And when you can do that, then you know the difference. You can feel it in your body energetically. You can feel bullshit, right? Your gut check is going to be way more accurate when you do this. And so then you can really start to address what is subconsciously and energetically rooting us to these particular people, or this energy within us that is depleting us, that is scattering our energy, that seems great on the surface, but it's really just manipulating us, right? That is what the King of Forces reversed. It's not, it's not a friend. It's not a friend. But it looks like it on the surface. And I've been through this so many times with people in my life, especially teachers that have presented themselves when really it's just about what they can get from the situation. So you have to learn what that feels like through your body. And part of that is too, like your dream state and being inspired and synchronicity. you can feel it in your body. That's how I do my work a lot of the time. So it will come through. I will feel it in my body when I get intuitive hits or I get any kind of clairvoyance or claircognizance. It'll ping in my body, but you have to train yourself to know what that feels like. So there's a lot going on and nothing at all at the same time as we are on the cusp of this new season, and we're on the cusp of the astrological new year. And really, this is going to kick off the age of Aquarius that was triggered with that great conjunction with Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius. And so now 0 degrees Aries is in direct sextile. So it is going to be a harmonious connection as long as we invest ourselves. And that came with the new moon, really understanding who we are and where we came from and what our strengths and our limitations are so that we know what we're actually doing here. And we're not waiting for somebody else to come along and do it for us. And I think we're starting to realize that now. So I can feel like we're turning a corner energetically and collectively. And that's really great because the readings the last couple of days have been pretty dire. But I think a lot of people have been feeling pretty dire and demoralized. And there's a lot out there that is intentionally trying to keep us there. So the more that we can not engage with that, the more we can focus on what we're building, the more we can focus on our own spiritual ascension, right? The more we can take our loyalty and faithfulness and apply it to something really substantial and not giving it away to other people that don't care about what happens. They just care about their money, 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 right? And we're all subject to that. We all have temptation. So redemption is about saying, oh, I fucked up. Shit, I didn't see it before. Now I do, and I'm going to rectify it. I'm sorry. It's really, and mean it. that helps too. So thank you guys so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Check out Redream the World in the Age of Aquarius free astrology retreat this weekend. It's starting at noon Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to book a reading, you can find me at catalystenergies.net. You can book a service there. And of course, Facebook and Telegram are the social media places. And as always, if you hit subscribe, you hit that like button, it helps get the content pushed out there through the algorithm for independent content creators like myself who are, especially on YouTube, are being stifled. It's not even about the content necessarily anymore. It's just about the fact that if there's not a lot of reach and you're independent and not monetized, they have no reason to really push you because they can't make any money off of you if you're not monetized. So, and of course, at BitChute, like and subscribe there as well. That I get a lot more traction there. So, and I upload those, or I link those videos in the Telegram channel. So that's a place that you can find the BitChute. Of course, it's in the description box in this YouTube video as well. So take care of yourself, guys. Have a great weekend. Happy equinox, spring or fall, wherever you find yourself. And I will be checking in with you soon. I'll see you on Sunday for my presentation about the star seeds in the Age of Aquarius. And I will be back on Monday for the Daily Medicine. Love you guys. See you later. Bye.